Yes, sir.
Yes. So today we will be discussing the Indian Express Pune edition. Okay. Can you all see the screen now? Can you all see the newspaper?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So today's headline is about the martyrdom by the Indian soldiers. So our Prime Minister has a given statement about the yesterday's killings of the Indian soldiers, that our martyrs' sacrifice won't go in vain. Prime Minister says that India wants peace, but will be giving befitting reply if provoked. Prime Minister saying that India wants peace with China, but it will be given a befitting reply if provoked by the Chinese side. So the first public remarks on the death of the 20 Indian Army personnel in violent clashes with Chinese troops in the Galwan Valley of Ladakh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi Wednesday said India wants peace but will be befitting reply if provoked. I want to ensure the nation that the sacrifice made by our soldiers will not go in vain. India's integrity and sovereignty are supreme for us, and no one can stop us from defending it. Nobody should have an iota of doubt about this. India wants peace, but on provocation, India will be giving a befitting reply. He has also called an all party meeting at 5 p.m. on June 19 to discuss the border situation. The president of political parties will be taking part in this virtual meeting. So, in such type of situation, normally it is a precedent that the government calls for an all party meeting, that how to what we can say tackle such situation. Observing a 2 minute silence in memory of the fallen soldier before the start of his second meeting with the chief ministers on the coronavirus crisis, Modi said, देश को इस बात का गर्व है कि हमारे सैनिक मरते मरते मारे हैं मारते मारते मारे हैं. That is what is mentioned here. So you read the remaining article. So for the first time, our Prime Minister has given a statement regarding the India-China dispute and about the sacrifices by the Indian soldiers. Here there is one more important statement from the India's External Affairs Minister. It says that Delhi draws hard line for China. So External Affairs Minister says that it will impact ties. So take corrective steps. Beijing says India should investigate clash, not misjudge situation. So both are trying to what we can say blame each other in what is seen as one of the strongest statements from New Delhi against the Beijing in recent times. The government Wednesday squarely China, indicted China, holding it responsible for Monday night's clashes and called upon Beijing to reassess and take a corrective action. So India is saying that China is responsible for the Monday night's clashes, and China should take the reassessment why the clashes took place, and it should take some corrective actions. So that is what is mentioned here. A day after the killing of 20 Indian Army personnel, including a colonel rank officer in the clash with the Chinese army, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar Wednesday told his counterpart Wang Yi, counterpart means the China's External Affairs Minister, that the Chinese side had taken a premeditated and planned action, and that was directly responsible for the violence and casualties. So, as per the Indian External Affairs Minister, who has called to the Chinese External Affairs Minister and told him that the clashes which took place on Monday is a premeditated, that is pre-planned action, and that is why China should take the responsibility and do the corrective what it is measure. That is what is mentioned. So our external minister has had a talk with the external affairs minister of China over a phone call. So in a phone call Wednesday afternoon, Jai Shankar underlined that this would have an impact. I'll go to the next page. Yes, this would have a serious impact on the bilateral relationship. Bilateral relationship means the relations between India and China. The need of the hour was for the Chinese side to reassess its actions and to take corrective steps, the Ministry of External Affairs said in a statement. During the Doklam border standoff in 2017, New Delhi had said that India was deeply concerned at Chinese actions that had serious security implications for India. However, because in Doklam there were no deaths of Indian soldier, only the soldiers have come, what you can say, at the front, but there were no, what you can say, the clashes, or there were no, what you can say, the killing of the soldiers on both the sides. So, but here in this situation, 20 Indian soldiers are dead. As per reports, many injured as well. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi is stressing that the sacrifice of our martyrs will not go on vain. New Delhi is not, what you can say, mincing its words. So India is using hard words in criticizing the Beijing. It has criticized Beijing in the most direct manner, especially since 1993, when the first bilateral agreement for maintaining peace and tranquility was signed. So in 1993, because after the India-China war in 1975 something, there was a war between India and China. After that, we had, what you can say, totally cut off the what you can say, the relations with the China. But in 1993, again, we have come together. We have decided to, what we can say, have a peaceful and tranquility on the borders. And in 1993, we have signed one bilateral agreement. So at first, that 1993 bilateral agreement for the maintaining peace and tranquility was signed. Since then, India has never criticized Beijing in such a direct manner. Indeed, the only time Modi has been critical of Beijing after becoming prime minister was when he made a veiled reference to China's expansionist tendency to encroach upon the seas of others. That is, yesterday we have seen that South China Sea is one of the important protections of the area where the China was trying to, what we can say, encroach. So during his visit to Japan in early September 2014, this was followed by the standoff of the India-China border at Chumar later the month during the Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit. Beijing too has hardened its position on Wednesday. They have also hardened their position. We urge the Indian side to conduct a thorough investigation and hold the violators accountable, strictly discipline the frontline troops, and immediately stop all provocative acts to ensure such incidents will not occur again. The Indian side must not misjudge the current situation and must not underestimate China's firm determination to safeguard our territorial sovereignty. So this statement is given from China's side. China have also hardened their position on Wednesday. However, the phone call between the foreign ministers, their first conversation since the border standoff began in early May, almost 40 days ago, ended with the door to diplomacy left ajar. New Delhi said that it was agreed that overall situation would be handled in a responsible manner and both sides would implement the disengagement understanding and of June 6th sincerely. Interestingly, it did not invoke the Wuhan or the Mahabalipuram spirit. So we can see that in Mahabalipuram there was a meeting between India and Chinese Prime Minister. There was also a meeting between India and China in the Wuhan region of the China. So for its part, Beijing said that the two sides agreed to fairly address the serious situation caused by the conflict in the Galwan Valley, jointly observe the consensus reached at the commander level meeting between the two sides, cool down the situation on the ground as soon as possible. Jaishankar recalled that at the meeting of a senior military commanders held on June 6, an agreement was reached on de-escalation or disengagement along the LAC. Ground commanders were meeting regularly to implement this consensus throughout the last week, the Ministry of External Affairs statement said. While there was some progress, the Chinese side sought to erect a structure in the Galwan Valley on our side of the LAC. While this became a source of dispute, the Chinese side took premeditated and planned action that was directly responsible for the resulting violence and casualties. It reflected an intent to change the facts on ground in violation of all our agreements, do not change the status quo. So already the dialogues were going on between India and China, but the Chinese sides have tried to build a structure. They have tried to build a building in the Galwan Valley, and that has led to the dispute, and that has led to the clashes. The two sides should scrupulously and sincerely implement the understanding that was reached by senior commanders on June 6th, because on June 6th we have agreed to maintain the status quo. Troops of both sides should also be abide by the bilateral agreements and protocols. They should strictly respect and observe the line of actual control and should not take any unilateral action to alter it. That is what is the statement said by the Minister of External Affairs. Invoking Wuhan and Mahabalipuram, the Chinese Foreign Minister said both sides should act on the important consensus reached by the two state leaders, strengthening communication and coordination to properly address the border situation through what you can say existing channels, including the China-India special representatives meetings and border personnel meeting mechanism so as to jointly preserve peace and tranquility in the border areas. So this is what is the total, what you can say, the interaction between the India and China side on the current issue. So normally, whenever such type of situation, whenever such type of what you can say the standoff, or whenever such type of border disputes comes between our neighboring countries, the governments try to resolve such issues by having a what you can say, the peaceful dialogue. But again, we can see on the ground, it is not happening on the ground. The Chinese, what you can say, the army are what you can say doing some provocative actions. On the right side, there is one more article that Chinese firms to lose India's business in railways and telecom. So we have seen that as a result of this, what you can say the standoff between India and China, here we can see that Chinese companies have lost its India business in railways and telecom. You can see that many of the India's what you can say the jobs are given to Chinese companies. So Chinese many of India's telecom companies, especially government companies like BSNL and MTNL, they do procure some of the material from the goods and commodities from the Chinese companies, and even railways also buy some of the material from them. So as tensions run high after the violent clash in Ladakh that left 20 Indian soldiers dead, a first set of actions have been initiated against the Chinese businesses in the country. A Chinese engineering major is said to lose a significant contract with the Indian Railways, and the Department of Telecommunication, that is DOT, has conveyed to state-owned Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited not to use Chinese-made equipment in its upgradation top sources in both the sectors, said on Thursday. So that is what is mentioned here. So just read out all this article. What is the consequence of the start? What is the consequence of the tension which is arise at the border region? Major generals hold stocks on ground and all forces put on state of the high alert. So all the major generals have what you can say had a meeting on situation on the grounds, and also all the forces, that is Air Force, Navy, and Army, all the forces have been put on a state of high alert. So anytime if there is a need, they can what you can say they can go to defend the nation. So that is what is mentioned here. So you just read it out this article. Now, there is one more articles related to the unlocking the what you can say the lockdown in the India. So the second meeting was conducted by the Prime Minister with the chief ministers of all the states. So Prime Minister said to CMs that he unlock, and unlock. So in a phased manner, we have to unlock the lockdown. That is a way forward, Prime Minister to CM. But CM wants center to ensure supply of two drugs. Chief ministers want, that is Uddhav Thackeray of Maharashtra. He wants supply of two drugs and formulate rules on university exam, because there is a controversy, there is a clash in the government of Maharashtra regarding the exams of the university. The government has decided to what you can say cancel the university exam and let all the third year students and final year students to what you can say declared as a what you can say they have passed the exam, but the governor has a different view. Governor has not allowed this. So as a chancellor of the university, the governor is not what he can say taking the decision. So that is what is mentioned here. So first I will read about this. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi Wednesday asked the state to fight rumors of lockdown and said unlock should be the way forward as they fight to control the pandemic and ramp up the healthcare facilities, because there are many rumors in the people or among the people that the government is again going to lockdown. So that is why the Prime Minister want that these rumors need to be fighted out. So that is what is mentioned here. So read out all the article, the whole article here, that how the Prime Minister is trying to unlock the economy. Here, Maharashtra's Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray on Wednesday requested Prime Minister Narendra Modi to ensure availability of remdesivir and tocilizumab. These are the drugs to treat the all COVID-19 patients. So that is the demand of the Maharashtra's Chief Minister here. You can read it out. Then going to the next cases. 827 cases, 43 deaths. Why Bangalore count least among the big cities? So we can say Bangalore is again one of the metro city of India, but they have only 827 active cases and only 43 deaths. So what is the reason why the Bengaluru county list among the cities, that is what is mentioned here, as curves is a note of caution. So again, the lockdown curve have been what you can say eased. So there may be a chances of increasing the number of cases in Bengaluru as well. But you need to read it out how the Bengaluru has tried to what you can say fight this spread of the COVID-19. The ordnance factory workers go on to strike. Date to be announced in July second week. So why it is what you can say why the ordnance factory workers are going to strike? Ordnance factory means the factory which makes defense equipments and decompose against the ammunitions and arms. So these factory workers are planning to go on strike from July second week, because recently we have seen that the government has decided to allow FDI in the defense sector and privatization of the defense sector. So that is why the workers in the ordnance factory, they are planning to what you can say go on strike. So read this article. What is the impact of the declaration of the government that it is going to have allow what you can say the FDI in the defense sector as well as foreign investment in the privatization of the investment sector. That is also mentioned here. So read the whole what you can say this article and put it in paper 3 topic internal security challenge, because allowing the FDI in the defense sector is also going to have some of the what you can say the problems in the defense mechanism of India. So just read this article and put it in paper 3 topic. So three MLAs quit and NPP withdraws support to BJP government in Manipur. So Congress IBOB Singh seeks to move no confidence motion. So here we can see that here we can say that in Manipur the BJP government is destabilized. So three MLAs have quit and one more party, that is NPP, they've also withdrawn their support to BJP government in Manipur. So here is then one term used here, no confidence motion. What is this no confidence motion that you need to see in the polity? So we have already discussed about it. Those who have not studied it, we will discuss when we will be discussing the basics of polity. Supreme Court directs states to payment to doctors. So state government have been directed to pay doctors to the doctors who are working in these what we can say in this corona time. There's one more article here. There's one plea has been filed into Supreme Court to seek transfer of PM Care funds to NDRF. So there was a controversy regarding the PM Cares, because PM Cares was a fund created by a charity, what you can say the act. So there was one plea filed into the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court Wednesday sought to the center's response to a plea seeking direction that the contribution made to the PM Cares Fund to be transferred to the NDRF, that is National Disaster Relief Fund. The PM CARES Fund was set up to receive contribution for the fighting to COVID-19 pandemic. The court issued a notice to the center and asked it to file its reply in 2 weeks. The court was hearing a PIL by NGO Center for Public Interest Litigation. The petition urged the court to direct the government to prepare, notify, and implement a national plan under the Disaster Management Act to deal with the pandemic. It claimed that the center has been refraining from divulging information about the money contributed to the PM case till date. So there is one controversy regarding this. Just keep watch on what exactly how what is the what Supreme Court talks about this PM case. So there will be like after 2 3 days there will be a judgment by the Supreme Court regarding the PM case fund. Check it. So this is a local news of Pune. So no need of reading it. We'll go to the next page. Let me see if there is any important interesting thing in the explain page today. So here it is LAC showdown. Here there are what you can say the pictures and news related to the soldiers who have been what you can say killed in the clash. So information regarding all those soldiers who have been killed. Sonia Rahul target PM amid opposition call for united front. So all party meet tomorrow. So tomorrow there is going to be an all party meet. So in such situations, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi have targeted Prime Minister amid the opposition call for united front. Nepal Army Chief inspect border post near Kalapani. So Nepal Army have started what you can say their inspections on the border in the near Kalapani. So that is what is happening. So here it means meanwhile. So all these things are happening between India and China. But again, Nepal is also what you can say doing these types of articles here. Yuvraj Ghimire is the one who keeps writing for Indian Express. India Nepal relations is the expert of the India Nepal relations. That is what is mentioned here. We read it out. Officer in charge of the Sector 2010, China's coup premeditated, Lieutenant General B.S. Jaswal had said. So inflection point in ties, time for Delhi to make policy reappraisal. That is Gautam Bambawale, former India's ambassador to Beijing. He's saying that the inflection point in ties, there is time for India to make a policy reappraisal. So India's policies towards the China need to be what I can say, look back once again. There were many statements given here by the different experts. Difference in Chinese activity at LAC and India should stand firm. Former Foreign Secretary Kamal Sibal and also former Foreign Secretary Shashank. So both have given their statements regarding this. And again, US is for peaceful resolution. Russia welcomes steps to de-escalate. So both US and Russia both are trying to what you can say. They want a de-escalation of the issue, and they want a peaceful resolution between India and China on this particular topic. Going to the explain page. In today's explain page, they have given reading the Galwan situation, what has happened in the Galwan. So the satellite picture captured on June 16, provided by Planet Labs INC, shows a long line of military vehicles in the Galwan Valley in Ladakh. So you can see that long, what you can see the line of the what you can say the vehicles, the military vehicles here. So what is happening in the Galwan Valley? That is as explained here. How serious is the situation arising of the violent clash on the line of actual control that left 20 Indian Army personnel dead? A look at what we know of the clash, the takeaways, and the way forward. So the word clash is being used. The word war is not being used here. So the clash has been taken place, but 20 Indian soldiers have been what you consider killed there. So what is the situation? Is the situation serious? And but no rounds were filed by either side. Is that a good thing? So there were no what you can say the rounds fired by either side. That is what is mentioned here. So exactly what happened in the Galwan Valley? So was there actually war or there was something else? That is what is mentioned here. Where the Indians not carrying weapons? So Indians were not carrying the weapons. That is also explained here. How did the soldiers die? Then how many Chinese soldiers were killed or injured in the clash? Has the situation now been diffused? Because we are seeing on the many what I can say the social media platform there are what you can say news that 43 Chinese soldiers have been what you can say killed. From India's side, officially we have said that 20 soldiers have been killed. The official statements put out by the army and the Ministry of External Affairs of the have no details of any deaths or injuries to the Chinese soldiers. Although the first statement by the army on Tuesday was amended to say there were casualties on both the sides. So that is what is mentioned here. Anyways, some people believe there are 43 Chinese soldiers were killed. Some says that 35 Chinese have been killed. So that is what is given here. So read this article just to understand what is exactly happening in the Galwan Valley. Yeah, there is one more important article regarding India's second, what you can say, the sector. In the in the economy, we have seen that India is not what you can say doing enough in the secondary sector of economic activities. India is inadequately industrialized, inadequately skilled. Coronavirus leaves no choice for India but to change. That is what is mentioned here. So as I have already discussed while discussing the what you can say the India's Indian economy, I told you that there is problem with the structure of the Indian economy, that we have not focused more on our secondary sector, that is on manufacturing sector. So that is why India is adequately industrialized and inadequately industrialized and inadequately skilled. Coronavirus leaves no choice for India but to change. That is what is mentioned here. In this explained event on Zoom, Manish Sabharwal, chairman and co-founder of the staffing and human capital firm Team Leap Services and director RBI Central Board, discussed a lockdown, unlockdown, and jobs. So he spoke with P. Vaidyanathan Iyer and Harish Damodaran. So this article is very important. Cut this article, you will get some good points in paper 3 topics. Like you will get some good points in employment in India, growth in India, and also the problems of the Indian industries. Also, you can get it. So here some interesting or important, what you can say, points have been given by Manish Sabharwal, which will help you in writing the answers of the paper 3. So you can cut this article and put it in paper 3, topic economy. ठीक है. At today's editorial page, the red line. India must keep its focus on the primary objective to restore status quo ante on the northern fronts. So the primary objective of India is to, what we can say, to restore the status quo on the border. That is what India should focus on. So that is what is explained here by the editorial, by the editor of the Indian Express. As the details of the Monday night's encounter in the Galwan Valley come into the view, there is growing national outrage at the killings of the Indian soldiers who went on to disengagement mission, adding insult to injury. What you can say, injury, senior Chinese military officers, diplomats, and the political leadership have put the blame squarely on India. But as the South Bloc statement put it, it was PLA that sought to alter the status quo, and more responsible approach in Beijing's part would have been avoided significant number of deaths on both the sides. Chinese soldiers took a premeditated and planned action that was directly responsible for Monday's clash. So this is the statement given by the South Bloc. South Bloc means India's External Affairs Ministry office is located in South Bloc in Delhi. That is why the statement is that. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi's brief remarks on Wednesday, the first since the crisis has broke out the border in an early May. It has also, what we can say, sought to balance the India's desire for peace and de-escalation on the one hand, and its also determination to vigorously respond to Chinese provocation on the border. So that is what is mentioned here. A rash military response to the unacceptable incident at Galwan could inevitably lead to military escalation at multiple points on the contested frontier where the two armies are standing toe to toe. So it may lead to, what you can say, a multiple, what you can say, escalation means, because we know that India and China have what you can say dispute about the border areas at multiple places, at the western front also, at the eastern front also, at Arunachal Pradesh, at Ladakh. So it may lead to, what you can say, escalation or military escalation on multiple points on the contested frontier where the two armies are standing toe to toe. The economic cost of such an escalation would be indeed be substantial and political consequences severe. That does not mean Delhi should accept the new facts on the ground created by the People's Liberation Army. The principal political objective of the Indian statecraft today is to restore the status quo on the quo that prevailed in the Ladakh Valley and elsewhere before China's expansive forward push in April. A threefold strategy is critical for realization of that goal. One is the political will to escalate the military confrontation if it becomes necessary. Second is closing of domestic ranks and, what you can say, the demonstration of national resolve to bear the economic and political cost of escalation. If any such situation arises, then we should, what you can say, uh, give up the domestic rank. Domestic rank means what? Our internal differences between all the political parties, we should, what you can say, we should stand together, and demonstration of national resolve to bear the economic and political cost of escalation. अगर ऐसे कुछ हो जाता है, if there is a war in between, have some economic problem, then all Indians should be ready for the economic and political costs of such escalation. And finally, the commitment to sustained dialogue to complete the process of disengagement that was agreed upon earlier this month. In short, Delhi's message to domestic and international audiences must be simple yet credible one, that India will do whatever it takes to restore the status quo ante on the northern frontiers. Ram Madhav have written an article. Ram Madhav is a spokesperson of BJP, I guess. Just let me check it out. What is his position? The writer is the National Secretary of BJP and Director of India Foundation. So he has written an article regarding the situation in the Galwan. So China has changed its tactics, not goals. India needs to demonstrate strong national power. We need to, what you can say, come together to fight with the Chinese, what you can say, the incursion. That is what is mentioned by Ram Madhav. Here there is one more article on the coronavirus management. Keeping the count fatality rate is key metric in the battle against the coronavirus. States must urgently correct lags and ambiguities, because we have seen that in Maharashtra there were some issues where like some 1300 cases have deaths have not been reported or have not been calculated into the data. So fatality rate is key against the metric in the battle against the coronavirus. What is the fatality rate? That is very important against the aspect in managing the what against the coronavirus. And that is why till Monday, the case fatality rate of India's most coronavirus state, Maharashtra, stood at 3.7%, substantially higher than the national average of 2.8%. A day later, the state CFR shot up to 4.8%. This rise is not because of the dramatic increase in COVID deaths. On Tuesday, on a day when 81 people succumbed to death this season, Maharashtra, the state added 1328 more deaths, 868 of them in Mumbai. It is told because of the data reconciliation process initiated by the state government. So the data reconciliation के वजह से ये number high गया है. But at the same time, what we need to remember that we need to have what you can say a proper data and proper counting of the death is a very, very important in what you can say the key in battle against the coronavirus. That is what is mentioned here. So read this article. Going to the next page, unpacking the reform. The reforms which have been what you can say declared by the government recently. Ajay Veer Jakad has tried to unpack the reforms. Ordinances on agriculture show unwise haste, means government is doing what you can say hastily. Government is doing ordinances on the agriculture may do harm along with good. So it may also do harm rather than doing good for the farmers. So what is the problem with the ordinances regarding the APMC and the Essential Commodity Act? We have seen that government has already amended and already what you can say promulgated ordinances regarding the regarding this APMC as well as the Essential Commodities Act. So why, according to the Ajay Veer Jakar, it is an unwise haste, and why it may do harm along with good? That is what is explained here. So put this article and put it in paper 3. Issues of issues related to agriculture in paper 3. So you can get the what you can say the other side of the coin. If the question is about critical analysis, you can write the what you can say the critical part of the reforms started by the government. Now untying the India-China knot is mentioned here between Sujay Roy, Sujan R. Chauhan. To begin with, India must respect the existing agreements between the two sides and refrain from any unilateral action. So this suggestion have been given by the Sujan R. Roy to China. Sorry, Sujan R. Chauhan to China. Missing the national security strategy. H.S. Panag has written an article. A modern approach to defense planning is needed. A national security must be dealing from domestic politics. So you can take this statement for your today's what you can say the main question. So this topic, this statement and this topic, you can put it in paper 3. Paper 3, there is one topic called internal security challenges. So as per the HS Panang, what are the problem in the India's national security strategy? That is what is given here. So read this whole article. As per my assessment, it has been nearly 7 weeks since the national security crisis began with the multiple Chinese intrusion across the LAC at Galwan River. So what is happening in India? What is missing in the national security? What you can say the strategy, that is what is mentioned here. So put this article in paper 3, that is an internal security challenge of India. So 1 minute is left. I'm ending the session here. I'm sending you the